Hey everybody, good afternoon. I'm going to take you through our first of many lessons, vocabulary, and examples that we do here in class using the flipped classroom model. So you should be at home, or at least out of my class, hopefully, when you're working on this. And we're going to go through and just talk about all this stuff. I'll tell you, what it all means and how you should look at it, and then you come to class tomorrow and we're going to talk about it and make more sense of it. Okay? So a point indicates location. It has absolutely no size. The way I like to talk about it, a point is like on Google Maps when you drop a pin. The pin looks something like this when you drop it. It's got a big, part of it's, left like that, something like that. Okay, when you drop that pin, when you go to that location, there's not a giant pin sticking out of the ground. Okay, this just marked the location. That's the point. It has location but no size. So even when we plot points on a coordinate plane, those points do not have a size. Okay. The picture, what a point looks like, is just the capital letter A, and there you go. All right, will always be a capital letter though. That is how we label them. We can say point A, that's how you label it. Capital letter next to a dot. All right. A line is represented by a straight path that extends in two opposite directions without end. It has no thickness. A line contains infinite. I hate spelling big words. Okay, infinitely, I hope that's right. Infinitely many points. Okay, that's what it contains. So, for example, our picture over here will look like this. This is a picture of point A and point B, and the line that goes through both of them. And that line can have a special name. You can either name it using two letters, or you can name it with a lowercase cursive letter, like the letter L. Okay, so while there's point A and point B here, there's also a bunch of points in between there. There's a whole bunch, a billion and zillion, and however many you say, in between this point and this point. Okay, you do not need to worry about naming all those. You only need to make sure you have the two. Now, to label, to name a line, okay, option one, there's two options. Option one, you could name any 2 points on the line. Okay, so this line right here, we could call it AB, and to label that, we put a line over it with 2 arrows. That means it goes forever and ever. That's what makes a line versus a line segment or array or some of these other things we're going to talk about. Another way we could name the same one using 2 letters, you could do AB or BA. There is no difference because the line goes forever in both directions. And then finally, option 2, another way to name it is to use a lowercase cursive letter. It should be cursive. If you don't know how to write in cursive, then don't label it with a cursive letter. That's all you got to do. Lowercase cursive, which would be like line L, like so. Okay, so those are the 2 ways. Either 2 points on a line, or like AB, or you can name it just by the lowercase letter, cursive letter. Alright, a plane is represented by a flat surface that extends without end and has no thickness. A plane contains infinitely many points. So on a plane, we have, let's see, the way you name it, there's 2 ways. Option 1, you'd have to name any 3 points on the plane. Now here's the deal though. Alright, there should be a little star by that, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Okay, there's a little reason. While yes, that works, and yes, that's true, there's a little catch to it. Like we could call this one, let's do the option 2. Option 2 is you could use a capital cursive. And again, if you don't know how to draw with cursive, then don't worry about it. Alright, so you represent a plane usually by drawing a parallelogram or something similar to a parallelogram. A big flat piece of something. Okay? So if I put these points on here, let's call this R, and this point S, and this point T, and this point U. And over here in the corner, I'm going to put a cursive letter. It's kind of hard to put a cursive letter B, but I'm going to try my best. Cursive letter B. I don't know, kind of looks cursive. Alright, so the capital cursive, what we could do is we could just call this B. Plane B. I'm sorry, I forgot the word plane. Plane B. For the top one here to name it, we would name it plane, and you could pick any 3 points on here you wanted. You only got to pick 3. So we could call it plane RUT, plane RST, plane RUS, SUR, lots of different things to call it. So I'm going to call it RST. Okay? So you got plain RST or just plain capital B, capital cursive B. Alright, I just realized my notes are kind of messy. So I'm going to try my best to clean these up real quick and make this better. And I forgot, I normally use 2 different colors when I'm doing this. And tomorrow I'll make sure that I do that. I apologize. Now you see this little star right here? That needs to go right here, because these have to be non-collinear. If these 3 points were in a straight line, if R was here and S was here and T was in the middle, then we couldn't use those 3 letters. But none of these points are collinear. Collinear points are points that lie on the same line. Okay? An example of that would be, let's draw a line. Let's make this line L again. And let's call this point D, point E, and point F. Alright, and so these points are collinear. They're all on the same line. Coplanar are points that lie on the same plane. Wow, that was unexpected. Okay, so points are not just this is not just points. It's points and lines that lie on the same plane. And it's not just points and lines. It's points and lines and rays and angles and polygons and circles. All of those things can be coplanar. Okay, so like here's point C. It is coplanar with points A and B. However, points A and B have a line going through them. So while these are all on the same plane, A and B are on the same line. And you know what? Here is point D. Point D is right here, and it is on the same line as point A. Point A is on line AD, AB, and it's on this plane, which we haven't named, but that's the thing with coplanar. The thing is, guys, we're talking about one-dimensional, two-dimensional, and three-dimensional things. A line is one-dimensional. It goes left and right. That's it. Okay? But a plane is two-dimensional. Two-dimensional, it goes left and right, and it also goes up and down. See, they're not all on the same line. Some of them are above the line, some of them are below the line, things like that. Now remember, this thing goes forever and ever, this way and this way and that way and that way. Okay, so down here where it says space, here's the big thing I need you to know for space. Space is the set of all possible points. Alright, that is what space is. Alright, so take a look at this picture. We're looking for two other ways that we could name line QT. There's actually quite a few. There are quite a few ways we could name QT. So QT, if you notice, is this one. Alright, so instead of saying line QT, I could say line TQ. Line TQ would be this line right here. See, I'm still talking about the same line. Okay, I could also say line NQ. I could also say line TN. See, TN goes from here to here. This is line TN. It keeps. Notice it's a line. It goes forever and ever. Just like QT is this thing. It goes forever and ever. Another way to do it, we could just call it line M. See, that's line M. Now here's the thing real quick. Let's see. Points. This is shorthand for the word line. If you're going to write it with the cursive, you have to put L-I-N-E in front of it. Okay, but if you don't want to write the cursive, you could just draw this symbol, but you have to draw that symbol for a line. Okay, now if it's a line segment or something, it's different. Alright, two other ways to name plane P, this whole thing. We just got to pick 3 points on this plane that are not collinear. So I could say R, V, and T. Not really. You can't use T. T is not on this plane. But R, V, S is. That's one. We can say plane. Sorry, I wrote in cursive. P-L-A-N-E. Rewrite that. Sorry. P-L-A-N-E, R-V-S. And P-L-A-N-E. How about S-Q-V? That works too. All right, 3 collinear points. I see them right here. R, Q, and S are all on the same line. Or T, Q, and N are on the same line. I can use either one of those. I saw R, Q, S first, so I'm going to do R, Q, S. Points, R, Q, and S. Name a point not coplanar with points R, S, and V. So we got to pick a point that is not on this plane. And there's 2 of them that are not touching this plane. It's point T and point N. And you can just pick either one. We do need to put point and the capital T. Alright? So now we're going to talk about segments. Okay, let's turn this over. A segment. Alright, a segment is part of a line that consists of 2 endpoints, 2 endpoints, and all the points between. Alright? It consists of 2 endpoints and everything in between them. Alright? So, you name a segment by its 2 endpoints. For example, if I had this picture here, here are 2 endpoints. Let's call it point A and point B. Here's my line segment. You could name this either AB with a line over it like that, no arrows, because that's a line segment, or BA. That's a line segment. A ray is part of a line that consists of 1 endpoint and all the points in one direction. And only one direction. For example, X and Y. Okay? This is ray X, Y. And it must go like that. Okay? You have to say the X first. You have to label the X first because it's where the starting point is. And then it goes forever and ever that direction. Okay, so it's XY. We cannot say YX. It has to be XY. There is no other way to do this. AB and BA, either one of those is acceptable. Back over here, we could call this AB, line AB, or BA. But over here, when you get with rays, the only acceptable answer is XY. Now, just a quick note. that there are lots of ways to name rays. There are lots of ways to name rays if you have multiple points on them. Okay, so let's just do this real quick. Let me just make a note of this. This could be called, this entire thing could be ray BC, because it starts at B and it goes through C, and it goes on and on and on forever. This could also be called ray BD, because it starts at B, it goes through D, and it goes on and on and on forever. This can also be called BE, ray BE, because it starts at B, it goes through E, and keeps going and going and going forever. But it cannot be called CD, because that would start at C and go through D and keep going. That means this part's not there. And we couldn't call it CB, because that means you'd start here and you'd go on and on forever this way, and that's not what happens. Okay, so there are multiple ways to name it if there's more than 2 points on the line. But in this case, there's only those two, and so it's got to be ray XY. All right, opposite rays. Opposite rays are two rays that share an endpoint and make a line. That's the big kicker. It's got to make a line. You with me? So this way, so we have, let's say, a line, or we have this ray CA and this ray CB. Well, those two rays make a line. All right, and so the two rays here are CA and CB. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, so on this one, we're supposed to name 3 line segments. There are, 3 line segments. There's really only 3. Because there's certain ways you could name the same thing twice. For example, I could say DE, and you might want to write ED, but DE and ED are the same thing. So that's really not naming another line segment. That's naming the same one a different way. There's line EF, or line segment EF. And there's line segment DF. Those are the 3. Now name the 4 rays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 rays. There's not 4. But you can't really name it the other. So really and truly, there's only 4 that we can name here. Because I can say DE, and I can say DF, and I can say EF, 2, 3, and then 1. That's the same ray. Okay, yeah, there's only 4 of them here. I was making sure. So starting here, this could be DE, ray DE. And now if I said ray DF, it would be the same thing. I'm just naming it a different way. So that's not what I want to do. Okay. So another one would be EF. Another ray would be starting at F and going this way, so FE. And then finally FD. No, sorry, FD is the same thing. ED would be another one. ED. Alright, which rays are opposite rays? There's quite a few of them. Let's do, well actually no, there's not. There's only 2, my mistake. There's ED is one opposite ray when compared with EF. When you put those 2 things together, ED and EF, you get a straight line. Alright, so now we're going to talk about something called postulates. A postulate is something that we know is true. It just is. Believe me. Go with it. Don't argue. Just not smile and nod. Okay, understand these things are true. No ifs, ands, or buts. They're always, always true. Okay, so that's what a postulate is. So through any 2 points is exactly 1 line. Any 2 points in the universe, you could take a string made of something that won't dissolve or break or anything, and that could go through other stuff if you needed it to, and you could go to another point somewhere else in the universe, and you can draw a straight line between those 2 things. Alright? Through any 2 points, there's exactly one line. If 2 lines intersect, they intersect in exactly 1 point. If 2 lines touch, they can only touch in 1 point. They can't touch in 2 points. Because if they touched in 2 points, then one of those lines would not be a line. See this one and that one. This second one, that's not a line. That's a parabola. Or a parabola, as I had a student call it once. But no, it is not a parabola. It's a parabola. But anyways, it only touches at 1 point. If 2 distinct planes intersect, they intersect at exactly 1 line. Check this out. This plane goes on and on forever this way and this way. And this plane goes on and on forever this way and this way. And they intersect at this line that goes on and on forever this way. And that line is line ST. Line ST. Alright, and through any 3 non-collinear, remember we put that little star next to it? Non-collinear points, there's exactly 1 plane. Alright, and so it would look like this. Let's see, we got this. Alright, we got this point A, this point B, this point C. Alright. See our last question here. What is the intersection of plane QUE and EBT? QUE is this bottom one, this plane. And EBT, here's E to B to T, it's this plane. So the intersection of QUE and EBT is going to be this line right there, which is line EB. Alright, sorry that video took a little longer than normal. I promise they will not be that long normally. Hope you got all that down, and we will talk about this tomorrow. Look over this before class. Your warm-up will be over this stuff. Take care.